So we had to
We had a
reboot.
cyber attack.
I'm not touching no buttons. Good,
Or
Christina.
All right. Well, we're gonna get
All right.
back to getting started.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
We're just gonna jump straight into it, guys. We have an amazing speaker tonight.
Janine.
Her name.
Janine.
He saved you. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Janine.
No. Her name is
I wanted
Janine.
to say the other one that Fausto.
No, I
You
didn't.
think?
No,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
have said that.
Okay.
She's got her own amazing podcast
Yes.
called Chasing Heroin, so make sure to check her out.
Yep.
We'll give her some time to talk about her stuff, but in the meantime, she'll dive right into her
Yes.
story and
Yeah.
get rolling, and then we
Nice.
can get this party started.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So hi guys, my name's Janine. I'm an addict, and thank you guys so much for having me back up here again. I was up here hosting the show in
Yeah.
November. Was a guest on the show, and the first thing I actually want to share is that when I was up here the first time, if you guys remember, my husband had been missing in Mexico
Yes.
and using. He has 5 months.
Oh, nice.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
and he hasn't had 5 months in
And is
years.
he still your husband?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Wow.
Even better.
I let him stay.
Nice. Good for you.
Wow.
He just did an 8-step
Wow.
amends where he wrote a letter to me and to my mom. He's doing fucking step work. He's meeting with his sponsor every week. And so I want to share that because for you guys listening, like as you're about to
Her
learn,
story is wild.
I have 9 years. And like anytime I would hear someone like me or you've got 10 years, I would see them and be like, you probably weren't really like me. It's like sometimes it feels
Sure.
kind of far away.
It does.
But he was using hard for a long time and now actually has 5 months and again was like homeless, missing in Tijuana. And so yeah. So, anyways, and when I
Thank
was
God.
here, it was like he had just come back. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
That's
like I
awesome.
said, my name's
is
Janine.
awesome.
I'm an addict, and my sobriety date is January 15th, 2015. Should I look at them or you guys?
Doesn't matter.
can talk
Doesn't
not,
matter.
not to me.
All right. Okay. But not to you.
Well, just because
No, I'm
if you look at me, then there's no.
Okay. All right.
side
Okay.
view.
Okay. I might just look
Yeah.
at the camera.
He's Canadian.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
My sobriety date is January 15th, 2015, meaning I have 9 years. I just celebrated 9 years
for
a couple
you,
of
yeah.
weeks ago, which is insane. And again, like I said, I would see people share, and if they said something like 8 years, 7 years, like you hear sometimes people in 12-step meetings, which was that's the type of recovery that I started with and that I typically practice. But through my podcast, I've learned that there are a million different ways to recover, different programs. I forgot what I was going to say. Did something happen?
No,
No,
sorry.
he,
Oh.
was just, he just distracted you because
saw
he
that.
Okay.
had me
Apologize.
fidgeting.
Okay. I
apologize.
thought something happened with the sound.
No.
Anyways, so and I would hear people like sometimes in those meetings you hear people say I thought everyone was lying when they had the time. I never thought anyone was lying, but I did think that if it worked, it might be working for you, but that it definitely wouldn't work for me because it wasn't. And I would also think you could not have been as bad as I was. You couldn't have been as bad as I was. And so what I want to share is that where it got was that I had been homeless for years, as a needle using heroin addict, meth addict. I'd been homeless for a really long time. And that's where I got. So, but I didn't start that way, which is kind of how I got to the whole place of my message is chasing heroin with an E, because I ended up becoming very, very grateful that to be a heroin addict. But so growing up, I had like an amazing family. I grew up in this really nice area of Georgia. My parents loved me. They loved each other. My dad's a pilot. My mom's a social worker. It was like a little golf cart community. And I feel like oftentimes when somebody ends up a strung out heroin addict junkie, especially a woman, there's a lot of assumptions around like probably what happened, right?
Sure.
With like some traumas and stuff. And that's not my story. Like I had the best upbringing a person could have. My parents loved me and supported me, and I could go to any college I wanted. And they always, they told me I was smart, and I got the SAT tutors and took all the AP classes and all the things. And when I was a senior in high school, my parents split up. And I lost my mind. Like not just like a little bit lost my mind, like completely lost my mind. But I want to interject here that my brother went through the same divorce and did not end up shooting heroin, right? And so like it's not even causal, because sometimes people will say, oh, that's why. It's because of that. And I'm like, no, I don't think so, But I was already, so I'd gotten really good grades, and I did really well on my SATs, which matters later, because I would be like smoking meth with people in a shed and tell you I got a 1400 on my SATs because I thought it made me so different, and like held on to this idea that I was smarter than anybody else for a long time. And as a result, didn't need to do like the recovery things, right? And it kept me different for a long time, but did really well on my SATs. And I got into this great college in Washington, D.C., and I wanted to be the first woman president of the United States. And I was like kind of on that track, right? I went to GW, I debated, I wanted to go to law school, I had a plan, I was going to come back to Georgia and start with local politics and have a law firm, and like I had a plan to become the president. I was really going to do it. And after what happened though with my parents, like I just couldn't, looking back, I was really depressed. I think I had like a 2-year-long nervous breakdown basically. And I just couldn't like get to classes anymore. I was really depressed. But one of the other things I always point out is that college is harder than high school, right? And I feel like a hallmark of addicts is that we often want things to be easier, right? Like the quick fix. And we don't always follow the rules. And I had done well in high school without doing all of the things. And then that kind of finally caught up with me. And these hallmarks of addiction, I think, are clearer in my story than some like incident of trauma. And I feel like that's where we can all meet, right? Is some of these hallmarks, which is why I like to bring them up. I didn't want to, like, I was so offended. Okay, so I left DC after a semester, went to the University of Georgia, and you had to get up, you had to wake up and drive to a parking garage and then take a bus to your building. And I thought that that was like the most ridiculous, inconvenient thing that a human being could have to do. And everybody else did it. All of my friends that graduated from Georgia. And like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, that I felt like above the rules kind of. And then I ended up deciding that rather than graduate from school, I was going to quit college and move to LA and become like an Oscar-winning actress, because I legitimately believed that that would be easier than like getting my degree in English at the University of Georgia. And again, that's kind of like the delusions of grandeur thing, right? That addicts have sometimes. Didn't really want to play by the rules, kind of had these delusions of grandeur, and it was a lot easier, I thought, to drive across the country and maybe beat up Saturn with like $600 in a cowboy boot, like an actual country song, and move to LA. That's a true story. And the year before I left, I started bartending. And I had still not ever, I was like a good kid. I didn't really drink a lot in high school. I smoked cigarettes, and that was it. And in college, when I quit and I started bartending for a year, I did Coke for the first time. And I think I shared that the last time that I was here. In AA meetings, you'll often hear somebody say, the first time I drank, I knew, like it changed my life. And I did not feel that way about alcohol, but I did feel that way about cocaine. I remember thinking, oh my God, is this how everybody else feels? Because if this is how life is for you, I can do this. Like, I can't do it the other way, but I can do it like this. I was fun. I was nice because I was like a really grumpy bartender at this bar. And I was like nice. I'd be like suggesting drinks. And it just made me like a better person. It like literally made me nicer, you know? And I know that was your drug of choice too, you know? It just like made me nicer. So, and it felt problematic. But one of the other things that's like a hallmark with addiction, I think, is this progression. And it was cocaine. It was maybe once a week. And I never bought it once, which was also kind of a Southern thing. It was like, well, the boys will buy the Coke. And I was like, okay. So never bought it. And after a year of saving up my money, I did move to LA to be an actress. And when I got there, again, there were things I didn't want to do. Again, I shared this last time. I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole so we can get into later things. I shared this on the podcast, though, I think. There were like things that you have to do to be a successful actress. And again, they were things that were like harder that I just didn't want to do. Like, I didn't want to put the time in. You know, you've been in television. Like, you have to do like some extra work. And if you're not willing to do the extra things, you can't really, you know, it's hard to like break in. And I didn't want to do that stuff. I thought it should be easier. And I, of course, continued doing cocaine. So I lived there for 8 years. And during that time, I drank and I did Coke. And people were always like mad at me about it, but it wasn't the disaster that my life became later. And again, it was a progression. I actually stopped for a few years. I just remembered this the other day. I tried to, so the AA Big Book has got some very like old school language. And there's a part where they talk about controlling your drinking by only drinking on vacation, only drinking
Having
whatever.
a beer,
Yeah, and they describe it
alcohol.
as bourbon. It sounds like Richard Nixon's plan to stop drinking. It's like bourbon, like milk in your whiskey. And like I never really related with that, but I remembered in LA, so I smoked meth and I was like, this is way better. And so I was like, this is how I'm going to get off Coke. And I literally hung a calendar up on my wall, a Marilyn Monroe calendar, and I was like, and I circled the 3 days I was going to smoke meth. And I was like, I will allow myself to smoke meth and not do cocaine. And that was my way of like controlling my drug use early on. And I would point to that time in my life as years that I had been clean. I was like, yeah, I was clean for like 3 years once, except for I was smoking meth. But I was like, well, I was clean for cocaine. So anyways, eventually became a disaster in LA, and I had to leave LA. My car blew up because I wasn't ever taking care of it. It's very hard to live in LA without a car. And I moved down to San Diego where my mom lived, thank God. But I refused to stop drinking. And all throughout this time too, like what was plaguing me in the background is this incredible sense of like shame and loss that I was going to go to law school. And now I was just like this fucking coked out loser with a SAG card, which is actually kind of valuable, but not when you're not using it. You know what I mean? And like leaving LA then was just like even more of a loss. And I was like almost 30 and I had to go live with my mom for a little while. And I didn't want to quit drinking. So I didn't. And I mostly quit doing coke. And again, like the progression of addiction. So I didn't want to quit drinking, so I didn't. Started dating this guy, and unbeknownst to me, he was an opiate addict. He like had been prior. He couldn't have been when we met because I watched him fall apart later. Like he was super healthy when we met. He was like really fit, you know. So he definitely wasn't using when we met, but at some point he got back on heroin. And that's like a whole long story how I ended up like doing it with him. But basically, like when I figured out that's what was happening, at first I told him, I was like, I can help you. I got off coke once for 3 years. I was only smoking meth for like 3 years. I can totally help you with this drug addiction. And I ended up on heroin. And for the next 5 years of my life, so I was homeless in 10 months, you know, as the story goes. I ended up getting arrested 5 times. My last arrest was for strong arm robbery. They were gonna like send me to prison in California and give me a strike. And I was homeless basically that entire time. Like not just couch surfing homeless, like living outside, sleeping on the beach, like a homeless person on like a bike if I could find one, like a little kid's bike, like, you know, scrounging up money, like doing all like the hustles. There are all these like dope fiend hustles. And anybody that's watching the Zoom that has been in this position, you probably know some of these. Like, you know, stealing the things from Home Depot and then returning them. You got 3 times to do it, and then you can trade the gift card. Like, we're all doing the same dope fiend hustle. So I was doing stuff like that. And I would be in and out of sober livings and in and out of rehabs. And I couldn't get more than 90 days. I got 94 days once in a program. And like, by then, I was really trying. I was really trying. I would read the literature and I would like get a sponsor and I would pay attention, and I was trying so hard, and I could not stop shooting heroin, and I could not stop smoking meth. Like as soon as I got a pass, I would always start with meth because I was like tired and depressed. And before I knew it, I was like back on heroin, and the cycle just kept continuing, and it was like baffling to me. I couldn't get any time. And I would use in sober livings and try to get away with it. And I was doing that again, and I was living in a sober living, and I could pass a P test just about no matter what. Like I was like always ready to take a P test, always. And I don't know if you've ever been in this position, but like we can stay ready if we want. It's uncomfortable, but we can be ready, you know what I mean? So anyways, I was always ready for a P test. And I was living in the sober living, and I clearly had relapsed. You know, I wasn't getting a job. I was coming back at like 2 a.m. And it was New Year's Eve of 2014. And I was out at like a Chili's with a friend of mine. And this friend of mine had been my heroin connection for a long time. And then he gotten busted, done like 2 years in prison, got out, and I was still using. And he was always trying to like help me get, and he's still clean and sober. I texted him the other day. Wow. He has like 12 years now or something.
Wow. And
after he got out, he was like, you know, he would reach out to me and like see what I was doing. And we were out for New Year's Eve at like this Chili's, and the owner of the sober living called me. And she was like, hey, Janine, so you left some heroin in the bathroom and you can't come back. And of course, to me, I was like, did I leave dope in the bathroom? That was so dumb. But to her, I was like, no, I didn't. There are 8 other women that live there, and they are all in recovery. You have no idea that that was mine. That is circumstantial evidence. And I passed a drug test for you, my fake law degree, like coming back around. I'm like, I passed a drug test for you this morning. I peed clean this morning, and I had. And she was like, you're right, Janine, you did. And I don't know how you're doing that, but everyone else is here in the house. They all think it's yours. And I'm pretty sure it's yours. But I tell you what, if you can bring me a blood test that says you're clean, I'll support you and you can come back into the house. Which nobody had ever asked me for a blood test before. And so again, of course, to her, I was like, fine, I'll bring you one tomorrow. And she was like, okay. Obviously, I never saw her again. But I was like, she was like, okay. and get off the phone. And I told my friend what was going on, and he got me like a Motel 6 room to spend the night overnight. And I did have a half of a Suboxone in a cigarette cellophane because I was going to kick. And like, if there are any opiate addicts or heroin addicts in the Zoom, like I always had a Suboxone on me. Like I was always gonna kick, right? But like all these things have to happen for you to be able to kick. You have to be able to like not use for 24 hours. And I didn't ever want to do that on the streets. And so it always just ended up being an extra charge. I would just have a possession of Suboxone, even though like my intention was to kick. And again, I had like a half of Suboxone in a cigarette cellophane. And I told him that. I was like, dude, I was gonna kick, you know? So he gets me in this hotel room. And when we get there, I was like, give me your phone, because I had a flip phone. I said, give me your phone. I need to see what the Tri-City logo looks like so that I can doctor this blood test. I just need to Google what a blood test looks like. And he was just kind of like staring at me, you know? And he normally backed me up quite a bit, you know? Like any crazy thing I wanted to do. And I said, come on, just let me see it. We'll just go to like a Kinko's. Is that still a thing? And I'll forge this document, like copy and paste, like tweak out on it, you know, and I'm going to make this blood test easy. And he was just staring at me. And I was like, look, like, don't look at me like that. What do you want me to do? Like, she's forcing me to make this blood test. I don't want to forge this document. She's making me do this. Like, I can't kick outside. I was going to kick. I have a Suboxone. Now she's kicking me out. Like, I don't have another choice. What am I supposed to do? And he said, I mean, you could get clean. And I don't know why, because obviously people had said stuff like that to me before. But for some reason in that moment, it just seemed like so obvious. Like, I guess I could do that, you know? And I remember like sitting down and thinking, I am working so hard to destroy my life every day. Like, this is crazy. All these like machinations and movements, and I'm always homeless. And like, you know, I never have a phone, and like, I can't find a vein, you know, like all the things, you know, like the bottom step junky things, you know, when you can't find a vein and you're in a porta potty looking for one and doing burpees behind a 7-Eleven to get a vein to show, you know, like that's where I lived. And I wasn't ready to get clean that night though, like, of course, because I still had a little heroin. So the next day I called a connection of mine and I was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got kicked out of my sober living. I don't have anywhere to go. And he said, I can't remember if I shared this on the pod, but I think I did. And he said, well, I have a place that you can stay. You can stay in the doghouse in my backyard. And I said, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, awesome. Thank you. Are you sure? And he was like, totally. That's fine. And I was like, oh, you're the best. And so my buddy obviously didn't want to bring me to this doghouse, but he did. He brought me to this alley and he let me in the back gate. And it was actually more of like I always include this. It was more of like a shed, kind of like a little shed. And there was a futon on the ground with like a Chargers blanket on it. And the dog would run in and out. And he let the dog go inside and let me stay outside in the doghouse. And he padlocked me in from the outside at night. But it wasn't to kidnap me. It was to keep his wife from going in there and figuring out that I was back there. Because it sounds awful. And it is kind of awful. And it's so funny that still to this day I defend him. I'm like, no, he was a super nice guy. He was totally my homeboy. But it was to protect me, to padlock me in there at night. So I stayed in this shed, smoking meth, shooting heroin, and doing a crossword puzzle. And I had a little compact with a light on it because I was a big face picker. And so I was like sitting on this Charger bed futon thing with my legs out in front of me, crossed, freezing, and like picking my face and, you know, shooting meth and shooting heroin. And I was there for 3 nights. And the last night that I was there, I have this longtime friend, again, another person that like supported me whenever he was home. He was a Marine. And anytime he was back from Afghanistan, he would like look for me and say like, are you okay? And I had stolen from this person. I had, you know, taken money from, you know, I'd like totally like abused our friendship. And the last night that I was there, he called me. And I answered the phone and he was like, hey, I'm back. I'm stationed at 29 Palms for a few months. You know, what are you doing? And I was like, I am living in a doghouse in Oceanside. And I think I'm going to die. And he said, okay, if I come get you tomorrow, do you promise you will come with me? No funny shit. Just get in the car and come with me. And I said, yeah, I will. And he said that because like so many times I had said, come get me. And like one time, and he's not an addict. And like one time he got there and he had his wallet open and I saw that he had $40. And I just saw it. And I was like, oh, actually what would really help is if I could get this stuff called Suboxone. And, but I don't know, it's $40. Like, I don't know if you have $40. And it was in his wallet and I had seen like so manipulative. And he was like, oh, I do. And he like went around the corner and I just took the money and jumped out and ran. You know, that was like 3 years prior to that. I'd broken into his house and stolen like the Wii,
Yeah.
you know, the Wii with the
Oh,
wheel.
Yeah.
I sold the whole system, like stuff like that. And he was like, no funny shit. If I come get you, will you come with me? And I said, yes, I will. And so he came and picked me up at the Burger King and brought me to his house in 29 Palms. And like, none of this should have worked. I was not in a program. I was not in jail. I was not in sober living. I was just like at his house with a half a Suboxone, not in recovery. And I kicked heroin for the last time. And that was 9 years ago. And I never used again. And and while I was there, so, and I include this too. So I knew all of these people in recovery though. And I didn't even realize this until like 5 years in. I was talking to my co-host who's not in recovery. And she was like, okay, so, but like you went from there to buying the studio. Cause I come back and I worked at a spin studio with 19 days off of heroin that I bought at the 4-year mark. And she was like, I'm trying to figure out how we go from doghouse to owning this business in Encinitas. Like, I don't even know how you got a commercial lease. Like, walk me through it. When you were at his house, how did you know where you were going to live? And I was like, oh, well, I already knew Steve, the owner of the Sober Living, because I had lived there before. He had to kick me out, but like I knew him. And she was like, okay, so you knew him. What about like your sponsor? And I said, oh, I already knew Rachel. She was my sponsor. And she was like, okay. And as we were talking, I realized I already had all those resources. And I had always seen my relapses as such failures, but like it was so much easier this time. And I've come to see that every time we go into recovery, or one of, you know, you guys watching goes into recovery, if we feel like we relapse, it's not failure. Or if we relapse, it's not a failure. We're gathering resources and then they're available when we're ready to execute on those resources. And I was able to do that time. And it like took me that number of times, right, to like meet all the people. So while I was there, I arranged to live in a sober living and came back to my sober living, and he let me stay on the couch for like no money down. And from there, I, you know, completely rebuilt my life. And like, and I know we're kind of limited on time, but I just want to include like 2 main things that were different for me, because like I had done step work and I had had a sponsor and like I had done all of those things and it just didn't work. Like it just wasn't working for me, even though I was really trying. And 2 things happened that like completely changed my mindset that I always share. And the first one is right after I had gotten there, because like the rest of the story gets insane. Like a series of miracles just start to happen in my life. And I have found that to be true for most people once we start walking in alignment with our real purpose, right? And when we can align with the sunlight of the spirit, right, as they say, we just start getting miracles. And so like, you know, somebody gave me a car at 7 months. Someone gave me a car that didn't even know I was in recovery, because I was like years from getting a car. I owned my business. By the 4th year, I got married. Like all of these crazy things happened in recovery that you wouldn't expect. So all of that stuff happened. But like the second week that I was back at the sober living, and the sober living was where I used to use, right, as they often are. And so I was right down the street from my sober living, and I saw this guy that I used to use with all the time. And he was like, hey, where the fuck you been? Like, and he was like, I got something for you. And he had a shot for me, like in the bathroom at the McDonald's. And I remember saying, I was like, okay, I'll be right back. And I left and I ran up the hill to my sober living, and the sober living manager was standing outside. And I ran up the hill and I was like, oh my God, so-and-so. And he was like, known is at the bathroom, is at the McDonald's. And he's offering me, he has like a free shot of heroin. And I can't, like, it's free heroin. I should go back. Like, no one gets free heroin. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to, but like, I feel like I should. Like, who just walks away from free heroin? And he was like, that shit isn't free. Like, what has that cost you in your lifetime? That's the worst return on investment I've ever seen a human being make. It's not free. And I said, okay, yeah, you're right. Fine. You're right. It's not free. And I went up to my little like apartment, and he came back up like 5 minutes later, and he was like, I'm not done with you. And I remember thinking, of course you're not. And as he started to like yell at me again, I was like, Steve, he was a crack addict. And I was like, Steve, if someone offered you crack, he had like 10 years as we were having this conversation. I was like, if someone offered you crack tomorrow, you cannot tell me that you wouldn't think about it for like a second. And he cut me off before I could even finish. And he was like, no, that would never happen to me. That would never even happen to me because I've taken a stand in this community and people know who I am. He was like, you have been engaged in a criminal and addict lifestyle for so long. You have to take a stand. Like, you're like the little kid falling asleep at the edge of the bed, falling out in the middle of the night with no idea why you keep falling out in the middle of the night. You need to be all the way up against the wall when you sleep. Like, you need to take a stand. And for me, what that looked like was finally like deleting contacts of people like that, you know, which I had never wanted to do. And like becoming the person in the sober living. Because I was also someone that like, if you relapsed, you could tell me. And I'd be like, oh no, what are you going to do? Well, this is how I beat a test. You know what I mean? And I was like, I need to not be that person, you know? Like, I need to be all the way committed. I need to choose the side of recovery. And so that was like a different thing for me. I took a commitment, which I had never done. And then the last thing I'm going to share is this. So at 90 days, I was turning 35. And I was so depressed because I was in that sober living on the couch, no car, no, anything. And I was turning 35. And I had not gone to law school, and like when you get a hold of a phone, for me as a homeless person, you get a hold of a phone and I would like go on Facebook and my friends are like buying houses and having kids. And I'm literally like living behind a 7-Eleven, and I just couldn't get that out of my head that day, because everybody in the sober living is going to be like, yeah, but you're clean, man. Like, that's what matters.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, yeah, that's not really doing it for me today. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care, and I just kept thinking that if I could go back to high school, me walking down like the AP wing, if the ghost of Christmas Future had floated into the hallway and been like, hey, Janine, I have a crystal ball here. Do you want to see where you're going to be when you're 35? I'd been like, yes, show me. I'm sure I'm going to be married and rich and famous and living in a mansion. Totally. Let me see my future. And if the ghost of Christmas Future had been like, yeah, none of that shit's going to happen, but you will have 90 days off of heroin, which for you at that time will be a massive achievement, I would have been devastated. And I just kept thinking that, like, this is not my life. Like, how did I do this? And in like 2008, I started going to meetings. And we all know the reading the promises. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to a meeting, and I didn't know what that was yet, but I heard somebody say, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And I remember thinking, if that's your pitch for me, then this is not the place for me. Because I didn't come here looking to feel better about losing my stuff. I came here to get my shit back. And if you're okay with what you've lost, then you didn't have what I had. And I will not ever be okay with that. And I left, and continued to use for a long time. And that's just what I kept thinking that day, on my birthday. And I was doing this gratitude meditation. I was doing a meditation that a client had given me. And I remember going outside on the deck of my sober living, and I considered my sober living very rundown. People would consider it probably kind of a rundown place, right? And I certainly considered it rundown. And I went outside, and I was doing this meditation, and it was like a 20-minute meditation. And as soon as I was done, I stopped, and I suddenly was like overcome by gratitude that I wasn't dope sick, which is like a special kind of hell for the opiate addicts that are here. Like, having to get $20 just to breathe sucks. You can't do anything. You can't travel. You can't go anywhere. Like, my mom lived in Oceanside. She would want to go to the beach. And I'm like, I can't do that with you. I can't go there and risk that I can't call a connect. Like, I can't go there with you. I can't do anything. I can't go anywhere. I have to have $20 and dope or I'll die, And so I was overcome with feeling not dope sick. And I looked out like on the horizon and I saw that there was this really pretty view from my sober living. And I kind of like took it in for a second. And then I remember thinking, well, that didn't just get there while I was meditating, right? Obviously, like, that beautiful view has been there. I have never seen that before in my life. And like in one moment, I realized I was seeing that view that had always been there because I was grateful to not be dope sick. Followed by, did my heroin addiction leave me like more grateful for stuff? Because if I'm really honest, the AP me was not like grateful about anything. You know what I mean? I didn't live then the life that I live now. And what I was experiencing in that moment, which I didn't realize yet, is something called post-traumatic growth. And like most people have heard of post-traumatic stress, but there's also post-traumatic growth. And like when men and women go off to fight overseas or into some sort of experience like that, they'll say to them, okay, so you're going to come back one of two ways. You can come back status quo, which is what we want, or you're going to come back damaged. You know, we're shooting for status quo. But there's a third way back from trauma, which is post-traumatic growth. And you can actually come back from a trauma better than you were before. So it's like this idea that we don't just have to bounce back, we can actually bounce forward. And the reasons for that make sense, right? Like usually you feel physically stronger after something like that, which I did. Usually your relationships with people are enhanced because we almost lost them and they almost lost us. Often we develop a sense of like spirituality and connection to the world, which is what I was feeling. And in that moment, I let go of so much shame around what I had lost. And I realized I did not regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. Like that was true. And I wouldn't change anything. And that opened up the way for me to actually recover because I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And in that moment, I was able to see like something that had come out of it that was good. And it was a long path for me to read the book about post-traumatic growth. That was like 2 years later. You know, I wasn't public about recovery until I had about 2 years. But all of that, those two mindset shifts were the things that really changed the most for me. Like I had to pick a side, I had to get serious and like cut those people out of my life. And then realizing that this could have been the best thing that ever happened to me, which I now believe, you know, that it was. I'm so grateful because it opened up like my love and my gratitude and my appreciation for things like they say in AA, like we get to marvel at the ordinary, which we do because we almost lost everything.
Sure.
You know? So anyways, what I always try to leave people with is that, you know, like I was so ashamed and I'm so grateful that I was an addict. I am so proud. Like we lived. Your story is crazy. Thinking you telepathically told the judge, whatever. And like, look at you now. You know what I mean? Like you lived and you lived and you lived and you've done incredible things, you know? Like we lived and we should be so proud of that. And it gives us so much leverage. It gives us so much of an advantage in life, right? It's not a liability, it's an asset. You know, we have like a superpower now. I really believe that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening and for having me.
Oh my God, I loved it.
Thank you
So
for
good.
So hot. I'm
sharing.
like sweating.
Yeah.
It's always
It's a little warm.
It always gets a little
Is
hot
it
in
the
here
lights?
right about
Okay.
this
Well,
time.
it's the
No,
lights.
it's not
and
the lights.
no.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think
I'm like,
it's
people are
so-
going to think I
No. I
when they
also
came
think
here.
it's the lights, but also when you're sharing something like
Yeah, you're right,
being
you're right.
vulnerable and you're sharing
Yeah.
your
Yes.
shit,
Okay.
it makes you
That's
hot, or at
heavy.
least it
Makes
makes
you
me
hot.
swat.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Plus,
I
they
mean,
had the heater on today.
I'm crazy.
They had the heater on today.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I
So
would-
anyways,
Whoever was doing it.
thank you guys so much.
Congratulations, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks,
your,
man.
Your story is everything because people need to hear that because what you just said is helping not only like myself in recovery, but also everybody that's in this Zoom meeting
Right.
tonight because it is possible, and it's something I think.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Chad's phone just started
Wow.
playing an ad.
Talking about artificial sweeteners.
That
will kill you.
I
too.
was posting the meeting that she just did on
live?
Instagram.
But it is funny. I think God has a massive sense of humor, and I say it all the time. And you kind of touched on it at the very, very end. Is that it's something that I used to be so ashamed of, and like try to live in like this like hidden world,
Totally.
A double life of like working a 12-step program and being an addict and an alcoholic. Now it's like, dude, look at like I scream it
Right.
from the top of my
I
lungs.
know.
Like I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
And I do love what you said, that you're, whether it was a house manager, case manager, or whoever said it to you, making a stand.
Yeah. You
And I
have to,
think that's
yeah.
like so awesome in like where we are in our, just like in the world right now. It's like,
right.
be all in, whatever that may be. Don't just be like a follower of some sort. You know, it's like if you're going to pick sobriety, jump all in.
Right.
If you want to eat healthy, jump all in. If you want to start going to the gym, go to the gym. But it all requires you to have that action and then the follow with everything that requires it with it. But you nailed it. I don't want to do the work.
Right.
And that's what's hard.
Right. Yeah.
I want to reap benefits.
Right.
And I don't want to do anything.
But that's what this gave me. I feel like, so I've been like thinking and talking a lot about like purpose and like having a higher purpose. Google it.
Yeah.
It's like a whole, having a higher purpose, which is typically identified as three things, defined as three things. Like, is it meaningful? Is it bigger than you? Is it future oriented?
This is my
And I know it. I was going to say that. All three of you can tell when you watch you on social media, you can tell this is your purpose. You're so passionate about it. You know, like you're so passionate about it, and that when you lost it was your daughter's fiance, right?
Yeah.
It has moved you so much, but like here's what else that helps us leverage. It also helps us leverage the days that we don't. I'm sure there are days when you don't feel like coming in here
course,
and
because it's
pulling
normal.
on your whole face, and you don't want to be the funny guy every day.
I'm like,
Probably,
girl,
you know what I
you
mean?
were
Like,
pointing
you're
that
probably
out
fucking
to
over
me.
it sometimes.
I'm like,
Sometimes
you're
he's
pointing it
not.
at me.
Sometimes he's actually the biggest grump in the
Oh,
room.
really?
Oh,
Just
yeah,
so you
he's
guys
sensitive.
know.
Oh, yeah.
Shane's
or the
super
model, you know what I mean? I'm sure there are days when you're like,
Yeah,
I don't want to be the beautiful
when
girl.
you said you
but
don't want
your
to put on a face,
purpose-
I'm like, yes, direct.
Of course you feel
for
that way.
sure.
But it
For
helps us with
sure.
our purpose. Like even last week, I have felt so burned out with my recovery stuff. Like
Sure.
I'm so burned out with the content and everything. I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere, whatever. I'm over it. And on Saturday, I taught a spin class at my studio with, do you know what the Phoenix is? They're that like fitness
Yes.
sober app community. So they came in and they took a class. And I remembered the night before in 2014, I was in rehab in Oceanside. I was in like a 9-month program. My dad came to visit me from Georgia, and I adore my dad. He's like the best, most good man ever. And he came to visit me, and we were like walking down the boardwalk. And I heard myself saying to him, I was like, yeah, so I think that I want to do like fitness for people in recovery or like maybe in like rehabs or something. And as I was talking, I was like, what are you saying? You're not going to do any of that. You are such a fucking loser. Shut up. What are you going to do? Fitness and rehab? You're embarrassing yourself. Stop talking. And I really felt that way. I was like, what do you have a dream? You're a junkie. And on Saturday, I taught a fitness class, and I have taught many actually to people like in, recovery rehab centers, like yoga and stuff. I taught that class, and remembering that initial purpose has given me like a little bit more energy, right? Like when we can connect to our higher purpose, it can help keep us on track, because there's a big difference between like creating the life that you want and then just like managing your circumstances,
Sure.
which is what addicts do.
For sure.
But if we have a purpose, it can help us create, but then also it can help us find like motivation when we've lost it. You know what I mean? Tapping, and we have all that now as addicts who survived, it just gives us like so much of a bigger purpose.
I agree.
All right, guys. Who's ready? I want to know who's ready to share. All you have to do is put up your virtual. Oh, right. We got one person ready to share. I'm ready to
Larissa.
hear it. Thanks, guys, for all of your amazing chats,
And your
comments.
chats and
That was a great share.
awesome. Share.
Really deep. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
guys.
dark, but that's like what the
Deep,
beautiful
dark.
thing.
I like it
Yeah.
because you know what? She's the kind of addict that I was.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I was really, really sick with it. Like really, really sick with it. And it's proof that we do recover. All right, we got
Larissa.
who is it? Larissa. Larissa's up.
Hi, Larissa, alcoholic.
Hi, Larissa.
I missed the speaker's name at the beginning, and I feel so bad about that. But to be honest, I have never related to somebody more, because not only are you the type of addict that I was and have gone to the depths that I have gone, but like little things that you said, I'm like, I've been there. I've been there. And one thing for me, I'll have 11 months on the
Congratulations.
18th.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
But I spent, the first 8 or 9 months beating Hep C.
Yeah.
And so that was a consequence from, my addiction. And so although I have almost 11 months, I haven't been able to dive back into the program. And you said you started going to meetings in 2008, and so did I. I had a few years sober right out of high school. I was already full blown by the time I graduated high school. And I was on the street, like running away from home, living in hotel rooms, doing the Harbor Freight, exchange for cash when they still did that.
Uh-huh.
And
That was easier than Home Depot, so
it was so easy.
A little.
Harbor Freight was so
Smaller.
easy. And now Home Depot, you try and return anything, they're taking your IDs, and Walmart. So
dude,
don't
they
even
have a
try.
sensor now. If you get close enough to the diamond bit drill tips, it's like beep 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 beep. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
It would have been so hard to
Yeah.
be an addict now.
It's so hard. They're making it almost impossible,
It's
but you
almost
can
impossible.
still find a receipt and go get the stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, addict behavior to the T. But also through my experience, I am also clinically trained in counseling. So I have my master's in school and family-based counseling. But it wasn't until after I had my daughter, coupled with postpartum and getting back on meth, that led me to a really hardcore gambling addiction, shooting meth and heroin, and which leads me to here, right now in this moment. And like, it's crazy because like I want so badly to get back to like where I was when I was like functioning, but
Yeah.
I've done so much damage and my health has been such shit. Um, that I'm trying to get there, and I love spin. And so I don't know if you're sponsoring, but if you are sponsoring, I would love to talk to you further about this. But nevertheless, I just want to thank you so much for being here tonight. You really resonated with me and are leaving me with a lot to think about. So thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Nice.
I love
Awesome.
that.
Fucking
Thank you,
great.
Can
Larissa.
I say something about the Hep C thing that you just brought up? I'm very glad you brought that up because sometimes I forget. But the living knowing that we're going to die sooner is a terrible way to live. And we don't have to anymore. There's a cure and no one knows. And they treat you like shit when you try to go get it. Okay. So I want all of you guys to know, even if you're on Medi-Cal, you can get and you deserve the Hep C treatment. Okay. Medi-Cal will pay for it in full. So if anybody isn't sure about that, like, it's a miracle that we're using at this time because I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen anybody die from liver failure from Hep C. It's not nice. And we don't have to anymore. So please don't be afraid to ask questions because you'll probably have to advocate for yourself. They're going to be weird about it. But legally, somebody will give you the treatment. So I know that that's not as
Can we
common.
put your info, your Instagram?
Sure, of course, yeah.
in the,
Yeah.
Group chat.
Chasing Heroin, heroin with an E, at Chasing Heroin is my Instagram.
And then Rachel, can you maybe like move your camera a little bit and show us that badass sweatshirt that you're wearing?
Where?
Holy shit! Look
Oh,
at that
Shout out,
shit.
Rachel.
That's cool.
Get it, girl. Get it, girl.
That's
Look
yes,
at that, guys.
Girl.
That's
She's
really
got,
cool.
She's got on the Hopeaholics
That's awesome.
swag right there.
That's awesome.
I like it.
And please follow me, guys, on Chasing Heroin. I love connecting with addicts.
Chuck, you're up, my man.
Zamzow.
Zamzow.
Hey everybody, what's going on?
Hi,
Hi,
man.
Chuck.
First things first, I want to let everybody know if you haven't seen her speak on the last podcast, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of gems that were dropped in that podcast that day, and that was the one thing I went back and rewatched it because there was a lot of things I had to write down on that too. I like how you talked about the insane lifestyle and going back and doing all the insane things. And for me, alcohol is the big thing for me. As a mechanic, I always tried to weasel my way in to try to make more money to rob Paul to pay Peter to get what I want at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Even though that I didn't want to, there was times I'd say, well, I'm not going to go drink tonight. 9 o'clock at night, I'm at the bar because, them neon lights always steered me over to that. And I can really relate to a lot of things because I'm no different than anybody else sitting around the tables. And I can't forget where I came from. That's the other thing. I got freedom from and freedom to today. Freedom from the drink that I haven't had to think about for over 15 years. And, freedom to go do whatever the hell I want within reason. And, the programs give me the keys of the kingdom. So that's all I got.
Hell yeah,
Thank
Chuck.
you so much,
Chuck.
Chuck. Thank you.
Shout out to Amy.
Amy's wearing
Amy,
wearing
we
the
see
swag
you
too.
too,
Let's
girl. We
see
see you, girl.
that.
Oh, they froze.
Who froze?
They froze.
Everybody's frozen.
It looks like it. Look at it. They're all just stuck in the same
Oh, that's
position.
true.
Natalie's moving.
I thought Chuck just got annoyed, and that's why he was looking like that.
Right?
Chuck
It's
was
froze.
like, dude.
Wait.
I was like, wait, are you
They're
mad?
back. They're
They're
back.
back. They're back.
They're back.
Yes.
You guys froze for a second.
Okay,
Were
so
we
I don't know.
were we frozen?
I don't know if you guys heard
No.
us, but we see you, Amy.
You guys weren't.
All
Okay,
right.
you're
Well, and
looking-
we were like, Amy, yeah, we
Chuck,
see
you're
you,
like
Amy,
this.
and then she didn't move, and I was
I
like,
was
well,
like,
maybe
uh-oh.
Amy doesn't want
Yeah, I
to
know. I was like, hey,
want
sorry,
everybody.
Amy.
She didn't want all that attention.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Amy and Rachel are twinsies.
I seen Chuck.
Chuck got one.
Chuck got one too. We just ain't. He just not wearing his tonight, so we're not calling him out on
Ooh.
it.
Tez tattoos 1, 2, 3.
Tez tattoo.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, but I got my earbuds on. I don't know how it works, but
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to share because Oh, first of all, hi to everybody.
Hello.
My real name is Manuel, but Tez is my tattoo name. And I'm a cocaine addict, you know. But I wanted to share because every Tuesday I get a shout out from you guys, and I get a mention and a reminder to come. And a lot of times in the past few weeks I haven't come because I went bad, you know. And sometimes I'd be embarrassed because I be with my friends. We do arts and crafts on drugs, you know. We do music, we do art, whatever. But I'll be working on my Procreate, and I'll be all coked out and all bourboned out, and I'll see, hey, Tez Tattoos, you got a mention from Hopeaholics. I'll be like,
Oh.
shit. I'll see my I'll be like,
Oh, that's a buzzkill.
We're calling you,
That's
man.
like-
We're
that's
calling
like-
you to
yeah.
sobriety,
Yeah,
Tez.
baby. Come
We're
on.
calling
Come on.
you to
Come on
sobriety.
over, baby.
Come on,
Come
it's
on
fun
over.
over here, Tez.
Yeah.
We do
Dude.
art. We do arts and crafts sober.
Ah, that is such a bad feeling. That's happened to me before. You know what I mean? When you see someone from like rehab and you're all fucked up.
Yeah,
Ah.
I've done
and,
that
and
before too.
my friends tell me like, what's that? And I don't know. Oh, I try to join this Hopeaholics group. You guys should check it out. And they tell me, yeah, not now. We're busy. They're doing another line and stuff. And but I managed to put away. I just it took me a long time to get on it, even after it was you guys rebooted.
Yeah.
I'm not really tech savvy, and I shared with you guys before that you know I've been out 6 years, and I was in prison for like since I was 15. From the time I was 15 to 46, you know, and like it's so hard for me to like. It's just so hard for me to like reintegrate, you know, like. And I always wonder, like, does everybody go through this, or do some people just reintegrate like successfully, or like you know, I'm not insecure about that. I'm really secure. I'm not insecure about that, but I'm just there's a lot of things that I'm insecure about, you know. Like, you know, I don't want to get all like all gender on everybody. Like, you know, as a man, I feel like I
Yeah.
shouldn't be insecure about anything, but I'm insecure about like reintegrating into society. I always feel like I don't belong, and I do belong, you know. Like I'm a good person now, you know. I'm a good person with a bad habit, you know, and a bad habit I'm trying to kick. And I just always appreciate you guys always give me that shout out. You know, that's why I'm here today, because you know, even before I got the shout out, I kept going to the Instagram, see if you guys are doing live, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool, you know, and I appreciate you guys a lot, you know.
Nice.
Awesome.
We appreciate you.
So,
Man.
in my experience, reintegration is hard after being institutionalized, especially sometimes for men, because like if people don't act right, you
Yeah.
feel they're acting different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so, but like I just interviewed somebody on my show recently, who you also have such an advantage because you know how to program and you know how to be disciplined and you know how to run a schedule, right? And so you can utilize that stuff that you had to do to give yourself a routine now. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but like I wasn't in the shoe for like 15 years, you know.
Okay.
I was in solitary confinement for
All right.
15 years, so like even
Less
being
program.
outside, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, this program, like I'm stuck by myself for 15 years, you know,
Yeah.
and like it's like I was freed from prison, but I built this prison around me. I can't get out of that one, you know.
Yeah. No, I
And that's the
understand that.
hardest part,
keep-
you know. Like,
keep-
the hardest part is getting out of that prison that I built, you know.
Yeah.
Keep coming back, man.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
will.
Coming to meetings. Yes.
Yes.
We'll that little seed will get planted, and we'll help you out, man.
Yes.
You deserve sobriety. You deserve all the
Yes.
best in life.
Yeah,
Yes.
you do.
And I appreciate, and the seed has been planted. That's what I say. Like when I'm drawing, and it pops up, and normally they're doing like drug binges and the arts and crafts, like we do music,
That's funny.
and it pops up, and everybody's like, "What's that?" and I do tell them,
Yes.
you know, I
Who
tell
the
them, I'm not
Hopeaholics?
done
Yeah.
with it.
We're coming for you.
Yeah.
We're coming for you, Tez.
Yes.
All right, Tez.
All
We'll
right.
see you.
Yes,
We'll see you
next
next week,
week.
and we'll mention you next week
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah, bro.
if you're
Yeah,
not
I
here, we'll
appreciate
be
you guys so
we'll be
much,
hunting
man.
you down. All right,
Okay, Katie.
Thank you.
Katie, you're up.
All right.
Thanks, Tez.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Katie B.
Hi.
Hi.
I don't have my face on because I'm Katie and I'm an alcoholic. I'm from Florida. I was getting ready for bed when I got the mention, so thank you.
Amazing.
Just hearing your story. I am 8.5 months sober,
Wow, congratulations.
and I went to Hazelden a couple times,
Right.
and yeah, I never really understood why I couldn't get it until I came back from, they say it progresses worse every single time. And it was a 6-day bender that I remember nothing for 6 days. Um, and ended up in a psych ward. And I went to good schools. I had this career. How could I be an alcoholic? And I had all of these things going for me. Nice house, husband. Well, when I went back that last time, my husband filed for divorce, took my dogs, have been dealing with that divorce this whole entire time of my sobriety. And I am so grateful that he did that, because I couldn't remove him and I couldn't remove those people, places, and things. And I finally got a sponsor and worked the steps.
Awesome.
And, I am just able to go out and do things differently. And the promises are really coming true. I went through the steps pretty quickly because my sponsor is amazing. Um, but I'm just discovering a new life and a new freedom. Like, something happened yesterday, and I was just like, oh, this is that new freedom. This is amazing. And I'm just so happy that there are people like you that can put this word out there and give us all hope, because it really means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Katie.
much, Katie. Julian, you are the man.
What's going on, you guys?
Hi, Julian.
I've been watching all your content on fucking Instagram, Julian. You singing to that microphone that you're doing? That shit's funny.
What's going on? Hey, I just I wanna thank you for that share. The young lady that shared tonight. A lot of things I can relate to with her. Being grateful for. First of all, I'm a recovering heroin addict. I've been clean for 17 years,
Whoa.
and
Amazing.
just I can relate to waking up, being grateful for not being sick in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels so good. And another thing is, like, you were saying how when you used to be dope sick, and you couldn't even go, hang out with your family because you didn't have $20 to get off of E. Like, it really limits you. Excuse me. It really limits you of doing things with your family, with your friends, just other things in life, all because of you're dope sick. You can't even. You need this $20 to live, like you
Mhm.
said. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I felt that, so I felt that so much. So, um, I'm just grateful to be able to wake up in the morning and it's just like, oh man, I ain't dope sick. I can carry on. I can go be with my family, my loved ones, and you know, share that quality time with them. And so thank you for sharing. And another thing, I want to say something to Tattoo. Man, I've been in and out of jail myself since I was 15. My last bit, I did 8.5 years in the Fed. So when I came home, um, what helped me make it was I had a purpose and I had a why, right? And my why is my daughter. So
Hmm.
she pulled me through my trials and tribulations. So I was determined. Once you get your purpose, once you find out what you want to do in life, you'll make it through. Get around people that are doing better than you or heading the same way you going, and you'll get through, man. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm gonna shoot you my Instagram so you can always reach out to me, man, for questions or you know what I'm saying. I just want to open that door for you and show that love, man. So but with that, I'm gonna land. So thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Julian. I
Awesome.
love that.
Thank you so much, Julian. You always say it so eloquently,
Yes.
man. Surround yourself with people that are doing better than you, or at least are heading in the same direction that you want to
Oh,
be
for
heading.
sure.
Well, we got another person in the house. Lena
comes.
Hey, Lena.
myself. Okay, it's safe to unmute myself, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say hi, you guys, and I really appreciated that share tonight,
Thank you.
especially when you made that point about um, post-traumatic growth. I think that touched a nerve with a lot of us. You could see the chat. I mean, it was just profound that you said that. I'd never heard of that before. And it's something that I feel like I try and live my life by, whatever mistakes anybody has made in their past, as long as they can take that mistake, learn from it, move forward. That's something my brother's actually at Hope by the Sea right now.
Oh wow.
And, he's there. He's been there for 2 weeks thanks to Chad and the Hopeaholics. And I'm eternally grateful. I'm going to be here every single week and supporting. I'm in here in Texas. I'm hoping
Shout out
at
to
some
Texas.
point,
I'm Texas. I'm Texas
hey,
girl.
woo,
Yes.
hanging out with me.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm hoping that Hopeaholics is going to catch like fire and spread all over the place, and I'll
Amen.
be at the Texas chapter.
Amen.
So-
I'm liking it. I'm liking you putting that in the universe, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely
Thanks,
feel like it's catching fire, and
It's because of you guys, though.
It's-
You
it-
guys
it
showing up
truly-
every week and
truly-
sharing your stories is really how we grow.
yep. This is a community.
Yeah.
So thankful, you guys. So thankful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for showing up every week.
Mhm.
I love you too, Victoria.
I love
Shout
you
out
too,
to-
Victor.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
Well,
love you too,
Victor's,
Yeah, I love
Victor's
you
up
too,
next,
Victor. I love you,
but
Miss Victor.
Victoria literally said, "I love you, Chad," and I was saying, "I,
I know,
love
but
you."
where is
back.
Victoria?
Victoria, she's on page 2. Let's find her.
Where is Victoria?
Let's find her and make her turn
There
her
she
camera
is.
on.
Oh, Victoria, where?
She's right there at the bottom.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Victoria Q.
She has her camera off.
Yeah, she has her
That's
camera
okay.
off. She's
Wait,
There she is.
oh,
There she is. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Victoria. I just did it.
You just did what?
Like how you were like
Victoria.
Yeah.
Vic. Well, see, the thing is I call her Vicky because she is related to her. So.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, Victor.
Victor. It's an ancient
What's
name.
up, guys?
It's like a Transylvanian
Victor,
name, Victor.
Patty, how's it going?
What's
Really
happening,
good.
Victor? Good.
No, that was I liked that. It was awesome. It's cool how whenever you come to something, there's always something that I could take away from it, And the progression part, kind of stuck out to me.
Mhm.
Looking back, when I first went in, they talked about, like playing the tape all the way through,
Oh yeah.
and before you decide to
Good old tape.
like pick up or whatever. But when like the fog lifted, I was able to like rewind the tape all the way back.
Mm.
And it started when I was young with alcohol and pot, and then got introduced to pills and then alcohol and coke, and but I would like try and not do one thing and do the other or whatever. But like it always went back to the pills. I'm terrified of needles. Thank God for that. I love tattoos, but I can't even go get blood drawn because I'll pass out. So I'm just grateful I didn't ever try doing anything like that. But it just like progressed, and it went from lower tabs and oxys to I got to the point where I was picking up blues, and I'm just grateful that I had the gift of desperation, as they say. And I don't wake up sick anymore. Earlier this year, me and my wife went elk hunting, and we just crushed this mountain that was covered in snow. And we got up to the top, and we just hanging out under this tree, and we hadn't seen any elk. We had saw one elk that morning, and I'm just smiling, and she's like, "What's up?" And I told her, I'm just glad that we're out here doing this, because I probably wouldn't have been able to a few months ago or whatever, almost a year ago, I guess. I would have just been either sweating my ass off or freezing my ass off or just trying to be well, So thank you for your share. Thank you guys for, the platform. As always, Chad, I'm going to have to DM you because you still haven't DM'd me the address. I got to send you your
Oh
photo, bro.
damn! Just. I'm so
Just do it
sorry.
right now. Do it
D-
right now.
DM me right
Emily?
now.
Yeah, and
No,
we'll
no,
make
just
sure.
put the address on there. It's known to public.
Yeah, that's true.
33171 33171.
Yeah, it is.
My memory,
Victor.
my memory.
Paseo
No,
Cerveza.
No,
I'll
he's
DM you guys on the gram and
he's
just
putting
send it
it
to
in.
me.
He's putting it in the group chat.
Cerveza.
Oh, okay.
But you could DM us too. I'll make sure we open.
No,
I just I
C,
wanted
it's
to.
like a beer.
So I'm so
Survey.
sorry,
You know.
Victor. I saw your DM too,
C,
and I'm
CER.
surprised I didn't. But I want to scroll through some of these.
Yeah,
but
me
really,
too. Wait,
really
wait,
quick, I want to say something on because
Easy
Victor
A.
said that about
San
the
Juan
tape, right?
Capistrano.
Running back the tape.
Oh.
Now, do the younger generations? I mean, that might confuse people that are like, you know,
Oh my
under a
675.
certain age. They don't even know what a tape is. Like Tyler, do you know what a tape is? You're pretty young.
92675.
He's you've never
Doesn't
even
know what a tape
you've
is?
never even
Seriously?
seen a tape before.
92675.
No, they know what the deal is.
Big
Wait,
one.
okay, but I wanted to piggyback on Victor. What I think is really cool because he got an elk with his wife. I got one elk for myself this hunting season with my husband, and then he got his first one in his first season this year. One in New Mexico, and one in Wyoming.
Oh, the dog got freaked out a little.
I know.
I think
'cause
she was.
I was.
Yeah.
She was
I,
young.
I got excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
But
Natalie
anyway, shout
has
out
a
to you
dog, a real live service dog.
Killer
in
dog.
In this dog, the service that
Does
it
look
does
scary.
is it protects her. This dog's job is to
To-
bite Shane or I
Yes.
if we come within like
Half a
2
foot.
feet of her.
Yeah.
Half a
Guys,
foot.
Half a foot.
Well, you
I
guys
stay
know
3
that I
feet
live in
threshold.
Texas, so I'm out here in Orange County.
Yeah.
So you know, I
Gotta
gotta always
protect
be
it.
ready. Stay
Wait,
ready.
do you? You don't live here?
No, I used to. I used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go scroll through. I want Tina to share. But there's some cool shit going on
Yeah.
up in the
Yeah.
chat right
Michigan,
there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like
We
from
got, like,
everybody.
7
We got
states taken
Indiana.
care of.
No,
We
that's
have seven
Washington.
chapters taken care of, plus
Yeah.
Japan. Somebody had
What?
Japan.
Yes, we got. Okay, let's start at the top.
Whoa.
Let's shout them out. Okay,
That's really cool.
we got. The first one is Rachel got Illinois.
Southern Illinois.
Rachel Southern Illinois.
Jennifer.
Jennifer's
has
got
Michigan.
Michigan.
You want a ton?
Yes, got Japan.
Yogi.
Yogi.
Yogi. Tina has Indiana. Alicia has Washington.
State.
Elise.
Washington State.
She, well,
Amy.
not
Amy,
DC.
Amy has.
She had to put the Chiefs,
She had to
didn't
put the
she?
Chiefs. I'm going Niners, baby.
Oh, somebody's got South
Rachel.
Florida.
Rachel fighting
Ra-
words. Well, okay, I'm a Cowboy
Okay,
fan
I'm
for
a
life.
Cowboy fan for life. I do like my homie Mahomes. I'm sorry, guys. I used to like Kansas City as well, but I'm originally from the Bay, so I gotta say, you know, hardly home but always repping. And don't put some respect on Brock Purdy's name.
I love Brock
Wait, does
Purdy.
Chuck have his
He's good.
sweat? Does
Yes.
Chuck have his hoodie on now? Where's Chuck? Where did Chuck go?
Chuck's
No,
dropping the
no,
ball.
he doesn't.
Chuck is
Doesn't?
dropping. He's got the tape.
Oh, he's.
Oh, you got
tape.
a tape.
Lena, Central Texas. Yes, girl.
That's crazy. How many people are in
Julian,
here?
Boston.
I
There's
can't
a
believe it.
41 Northern Illinois.
Damn, we got Illinois covered.
Wow.
Does anybody Boston chapter? Awesome. Is there anybody that's close to Daytona? Because we just got invited. Thanks
like
thanks
Amy.
to Natalie. We will
New
be at the
Mexico.
Daytona 500.
Representing the Hopeaholics.
representing the
Representing.
Hopeaholics.
Yeah,
And
baby.
guys,
But because
And
guys,
let
don't-
Chet finish.
Wait, no, because he's gonna say something like really sweet, but I want to say the reasoning why we're going there because we are building this community and we want to get it out nation global wide what we really are and what our mission is, and it all is because Chad started the Hopeaholics
Aw.
and the mission behind fentanyl and breaking the stigma where it's not there is no shame in getting help for your addiction or your alcoholism. That's why, and that's what's exciting about going to something like Daytona 500
Really exciting.
because I get to go with my boys and represent all of us.
so what's
Bye,
cool
Alicia.
about this trip to Daytona 500, guys, is that now
Matt
that
is the full
we get to be down where the race car drivers are.
Yeah.
We get a press pass as the
Gee.
Hopeaholics. We're actually going to be pressed, but your girl Natalie Eva Marie is going to be interviewed
By
live
Walter.
on live TV
Michael Waltrip.
by Michael Waltrip,
representing us, guys.
talking
us.
about the fentanyl crisis. And that's about how many people do you think watch
Millions.
Daytona 500?
Millions.
A lot.
This is on race day, so this
Millions.
is Sunday.
Millions.
Our girl who just was
And
on
you
our
guys-
podcast, she races on Saturday. So
And this is a God thing because I walked into work today. She came on our podcast. Her podcast is dropping soon.
and it
but-
dropped the week before the Daytona
Yeah.
500.
She gave us all her T-shirts, her team shirts, and I just I really enjoyed the shirt because it kind of matches my hair, it kind of matches my vibe. And so I wore it today just into the office, and then Chad sees me and he's like, "Hey, why are you wearing Amber's shirt?" And I was like, "Because I like it." And then all of a sudden I walked back into the office just right before we sat down for this.
Doing your nails.
Yeah, right.
After.
Right.
Thanks,
Just saying,
birthday
they
boy.
look nice.
And I got a call
got a
from
call,
I
so
got a
that's
call
God.
from Amber's
That's God.
manager with
That's
all of
God.
this stuff.
I'm
yeah.
wearing her shirt. He
So
gets
it's
the
all
call.
God.
Yeah.
I do want to tell you guys. I think that my son-in-law has a little hand up above, helping this Hopeaholics movement to. Sorry, I get a little emotional, but helping this Hopeaholics movement. Because I know that he really, truly, at the in the bottom of his heart, didn't want to leave my daughter in the state that she's in, and he's got a hand in this.
I believe that shit.
I do too.
I believe that shit 100%.
I believe in all of it. I believe that he had a hand. The odds of me walking in here
Yeah,
5 months
I
ago
agree.
is literally I didn't know
I
you guys
believe all
were
that.
Adam.
Yeah.
And now you're like my brothers, and then all of you guys, I feel like I know you. You guys we are a community. This is something that we're building because the mission is so much bigger than all of us, and it's something that I truly feel just really, really blessed. And God, I didn't think I was gonna get emotional, but you said something earlier tonight where I've done really cool things in my life that I'm proud of, but I always chase something more. I always chased. I'm an addict alcoholic at heart, so I'm chasing for that high. So I got WWE, cool. I thought I was gonna I made it. It was a great accomplishment, but this is the first time in my life where the chase is done. This is my mission. I'm with my family, the Infinity Group, with you guys. This is it. This is what sets my soul on fire. That doesn't mean some days I don't want to put on my face or do my hair, but I found it, and for that, I'm forever grateful to you guys.
Yeah, whatever.
Aww.
Thank you. Wow, what a powerful meeting, huh, guys?
Yeah, great.
And a powerful. We still have one person that wants to share though, and we have time. We never leave a meeting with a hand up. She put her hand down, but let's give her opportunity to share. Tina, you are up.
I don't know if I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
we can hear you.
My name is Tina. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Tina.
I have a sobriety date of November 23rd, 2005, and for that, I'm grateful. I want to say thank you so much for your share. It's not often you hear us women who spent all that time homeless. I am also an alcoholic addict who spent 8 years on the streets, living behind dumpsters, and today my life doesn't reflect that. I'm grateful. I listen to the Hopeaholics podcast a lot. This is my first time ever jumping on a meeting. I happened to get home from a meeting here in Indiana, and I got the notification and thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to jump on. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I got to hear the story. My son is 42 days. Heroin wasn't my thing, but everything else was. And my son has 42 days today off of opioids. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that the stigma is being taken away. I stand out here in Indiana, and we do a lot of overdose awareness, and I'm a big part of it because my son unfortunately has been one of those people that is overdosed, and thank God that it didn't take his life. But this program, the recovery, it doesn't matter where you go. I was homeless in California. That's where I got sober. I spent a lot of time in California before I ended up moving to Las Vegas, and then from Las Vegas I ended up coming to Indiana, to make a living amends to my father, and be around now that he is 78 years old, and he needs family around. So I get to do that. I went from a homeless streetwalker to the person that I am today, you know, and I just want to say I appreciate Chad, and the emails at work is where I learned about the Hopeaholics, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be a part of stamping out the stigma and recovering out loud. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Can you scroll up just a little bit on the chat? I want to recognize somebody. Right there.
Oh, I love you guys.
John Lopez lost a 14-year-old daughter to fentanyl 2 years ago. That's what we're talking about right there. That is what this is all about. That's why this podcast exists. It exists to for that reason right there.
Yeah.
You know, we are here to support you, John. That's why we're going to NASCAR. That's why Natalie's going to be talking, you know, interviewed before the race to talk about fentanyl awareness. And, you know, we're not, our mission is to eradicate fentanyl. As everybody knows, 300 people die every single day from fentanyl currently. And the numbers are probably higher than that. That's just what they say.
Right.
That's like an airplane crashing every single day. And we don't call it overdose over here. We call it poisoning. Really good, really good podcast just dropped on Tuesday. It was the Orange County Sheriff, the actual head sheriff of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Funny to have a guy like that sitting in our podcast room with a person like myself.
Did he ever arrest you? Him?
Not
So?
him
No,
personally,
I
no.
stayed in his county jail.
But yeah, I actually, the last time I detoxed, and I told him, because he said he runs the largest
Detox.
treatment
Yeah.
center in Orange County.
It's totally
and I
true.
said, you're right. And the last time I detoxed was at your
That's
facility.
at his facility.
Yep. We got another hand. Let's do it. So John, we're sorry for your loss, and you know, we're here for you, whatever you need.
Yeah, John. Damn, that's fucked up.
There we go.
That's all
Hi guys, just real quick because I know we're running over, but was it Saturday? Went to the vape store, had on my swag,
Nice.
and the guys at the vape stores are always so nice, you know, because they want to sell their shit, but
Yeah.
whatever. So I'm like looking at the buy two get one free case, and he's like, "What's up with that shirt? What's Hopeaholics?" And I told him like your whole message, the whole 300 people in the plane and all the stuff, and he was like, "Bet I'm gonna look that up." And I was just I felt so good
Aw.
spreading your message.
That's
It made me feel just stuff like that. People that'll listen to me. I mean, I don't know a lot, but I have a story, and I'm learning as I'm going, and I just love sharing it. And when they listen and actually act like they're interested, it fuels my heart to keep going.
I
So
love that.
I love you guys.
Way
I
to
look forward to this every week.
Way to represent, Amy.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it.
Thank you.
That's why they
love
make
it.
merch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We got some cool merch coming out, guys, and there are a couple sweatshirts left in small,
Smalls, 2X and a 3X.
2X and a 3X.
I think so. I think we
Yeah.
sold out of our mediums and larges.
I mean, you guys bought those things in 2 days.
Yay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
We
You
have
guys are
we
amazing.
we have some really cool merch coming out.
It's just
our-
going to keep getting better.
Our
I
clothing
can say.
sponsor actually is dropping our next merch for us, Solon.
Yeah.
They're we got some really cool non-hooded sweatshirts coming out and t-shirts.
Yeah.
Crew necks.
Crew necks.
I love
Crew
all you
necks.
guys in the messages. I love that you guys interact and talk and throw up stuff and talk with one another and utilize the entire community. I think that's.
Oh, and we have more hoodies coming, Chuck.
Oh yeah. Should we take it out?
Julian.
No, everyone shared.
Mo, I was just reading. I'm
Oh.
reading the
Oh,
chat.
oh, oh.
Sorry.
They were all saying happy birthday to Shane.
Yeah,
too.
happy birthday, Shane. And you
Yeah,
guys, you know what?
appreciate it,
DM us
appreciate
what you need from the swag, and Julian, I'll hook you up.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing.
Oh, sorry. It's probably time to end, right?
Yeah.
Wow, what a
We went
meeting,
really-
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks for.
Lot of
I'm really
energy.
glad I got to come back up here.
Lot
Thank
of
you guys so
energy,
much.
lot of energy
A
tonight.
ton.
Wow, holy fuck.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Alright.
There's so many people on. I feel like we should dance it out. So
Let's
everybody,
dance.
put your hands up in the air,
What does
just
that
like
mean?
mine are right now. Hands up in the air. Everybody, cameras on. Hands up in the air. Ready?
Is y'all's song?
All right,
Yeah,
God,
really,
God.
God.
Thank you.
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
See
for
you
that
guys
great
next
lead.
week.
Thanks.
See you
Thank
next
you guys.
week.
Love you guys.
Yeah.